Hi, I'm Patrick Sullivan. This is Recurring Insight, and for this episode, I'm going to be talking about Maze of Ith. Maze of Ith is a cool case study from my perspective because I think a lot of competitive players or a lot of spiky players have a healthy appetite for cards if there's a real drawback, and Maze of Ith has one, or actually several. But I still don't think it's a very good design, and it's really reflective of how balancing the game around the right stuff and distribution of rate on individual designs is a really important thing.
There are two concepts that game designers talk a lot about when you're talking about games with a lot of individual pieces that do discrete things. And Maze of Ith is a very good example of a card that kind of runs afoul of both of these, which is what is the game balanced around broadly, and what is the distribution of rate on individual designs. When it comes to what the game is balanced around, I think Maze of Ith fails the test pretty badly, and it's not because it's without drawbacks. It is a land that does not tap for mana. That's a pretty intense drawback. There is a range of opponents where the card doesn't do anything at all because they're not playing with creatures, or because the game's not about combat, or a number of other reasons. It balances the game around the wrong stuff. It's not fun to play with lands that aren't tapping for mana. It's not fun to prevent the game from really concluding. And it's not fun to collapse ostensibly different cards into the same binary. Those are all pretty big strikes when it comes to what the game is balanced around. And then there's the question of the distribution of rate. All Maze of Ith does is suppress attacks in a very powerful fashion. It doesn't tap for mana. That isn't to say that you couldn't do a land that's similar to Maze of Ith. A Maze of Ith that tapped for colorless and tapped and some mana to Maze of Ith, a creature with mana cost or power or toughness and or less. A land that transformed into Maze of Ith if you achieved a certain game state. Whatever. There's a lot that you can do to the design that engenders more counterplay, that makes it care about particular characteristics, or that lengthens the runway before Maze of Ith is a thing that's engaged in the game. The problem stems from the fact that it's happening sometimes on turn one, and that is just not the right thing to put the power in. So, Maze of Ith gets brought up a lot, in design circles as a card you're not supposed to do. And it's complicated because it's not obvious just on rate alone that you're not supposed to do it. Yes, the card is quite powerful, but like I mentioned at the beginning, it comes with a lot of drawbacks. And those drawbacks aren't fake. They do manifest in games where Maze of Ith is involved. So the question is, why would you not do it? And to circle back to the beginning, it's because it balances the game around the wrong stuff, a game that doesn't conclude, and because the distribution of rate is way off. It's not like you can't come up with lands that could do something in the space of Maze of Ith, but when it's happening on turn one with no context and is not tapping for mana, that is just distributing the rate of the card in the worst possible way.
Again, that was Maze of Ith, and this is Recurring Insight. Make sure you're subscribed to the Star Games YouTube page so you can get notified when this and other content is uploaded to the page. And I'm almost ready for my next wave of design, so keep the posts and requests coming. Maybe we'll get to Smokestack sometime soon. People are asking about other really not so good designs, but I just covered this one, so I'll get to it when I can.